Hello team. Today we are going to review Streamline Server Release version 2025.4.0.0. So let's begin. Units of Measure system has been added. We can create our own classes of units of measure. We can configure conversion within the same class or interclass. We can assign classes individually to specific items. We can set primary and sale units of measure separately. And we can create pretty much anything that comes to mind, whether it's weight, unit, length, cubic capacity, etc. And once again, you can set conversion within the same class, for example, pounds to ounces, kilograms to grams, or interclass, kilograms to units, or pounds to centimeters, or really anything that comes to your mind, and vice versa. Let's begin by creating our first rule here. Also, please note that units of measure information can be exported from the data source. So we start with class, and it's going to be unit, and our unit of measure code in my case is unit. And description is optional. For myself, I will enter the following: 10 units per box. So currently conversion we cannot modify because we are creating our very first class. Okay, so we have just created our first class, which is unit. And let's create one more. Within the same class, we are going to add a box. And we're gonna add the same description, 10 units per box. And now, having unit as our base unit of measure code for class of units, we can enter the conversion. So one box contains 10 items, 10 units. So let's enter that. One box equals conversion multiplied by unit, 10. Let's click create. And we can see here our math relationship between these two units of measure under the same class. One box equals 10 units. Once we're done, let's click Save Changes. We have another option here, item specific rules. What it means is that we can find specific item code and we can define individual unit of measure for that specific item code. So by default, we have 10 units per box. But for this item code here, we're gonna enter another conversion formula, which is going to be different from the default one. We would have 100 units. Let's click create. So now we can see that for this item code, one box has 100 units. We can click Save Changes. So this can be done number of times for different item codes individually, thus allowing you greater flexibility when assigning and creating your own units of measures for specific items. And now let's review interclass conversion. To create interclass conversion, we need to add a different class of units of measure. So let's click here and let's create new class, which is going to be weight, and base for this one we would have, let's say, pounds. We click create. So we have created new unit of measure system here, which is weight, and the base is pounds. We do not have anything else under this class. That's fine because we are going to configure interclass rule. Now let's configure our interclass rule. Let's select the same item code. So our source unit of measure class is unit. Just as a reminder, we have by default 10 units in a box, but for this specific item code, we have entered that we have 100 units in a box. And here we can design even more sophisticated conversion where we would convert unit into weight. So 1 unit equals conversion multiplied by pounds. And since this item code is a brick, let's see, that's gonna weigh about probably about 2 pounds. Let's click create. So now we can see here that for this particular item code, we are converting our source unit of measure from unit into target unit of measure weight, which is pound in this case. So 1 unit of this item code weighs 2 pounds. Let's click Save Changes. And now let's go to Inventory tab and set our units of measure for items. Firstly, you may want to go to More Options, Show Columns, Planning Item Information, and make sure that primary unit of measure and sales unit of measurement columns are shown. Once they are, you can start by assigning units of measure from the drop-down list. As you may notice, we have primary and sales unit of measure. Primary unit of measure defines item unit of measurement whenever it comes to your warehouse in your system, and sales is the one that you sell this item by. So technically they can be different as long as you have the conversion rules configured. If there are no conversion rule between selected primary and sales units of measure, you won't be able to make such a selection, and you would have the following error message. Now back to our demand tree. Here we can choose our unit of measure for the demand tree. Let's choose units, and our entire demand tree has changed to units. Now please note that if there are no conversion rules were set up for the selected unit of measure, not all data will be displayed on the demand tree, thus the forecast will be missing something, and you would have this informational message right here. Not all data may be displayed in the selected unit of measure due to missing conversion rules. Some production information might be missing. In such cases, for the convenience sake, you can create separate filters to show only specific units of measure. Let's create a filter. Also note the forecast override we are applying on the demand tab is applied only to the chosen unit of measure. If you make an override for unit, it will be applied only to unit. If you make an override for box, it will be applied only to box, and if for pounds, for pounds. Same applies to the forecast override via reporting. Also note that top-down forecasting approach cannot be applied to the item group where units of measurements are different and do not have conversions configured. User roles were redesigned as well. Now we have following roles. Administrator provides full access to all product features, settings, and data. IT admin provide access to user management and system settings without permissions to edit project data. Planner provide access to view and edit project data without administrative permissions. And Viewer provides read-only access to project data. Another great feature that has been added is mass editing for forecasting settings. On the Demand tab, under More Options, we have Advanced Demand Settings, where we can change demand configuration in bulk for different items simultaneously or individually. Reporting-wise, we have 2 new reports, expected to receive and expected to ship. And these tables were added to the dashboard widget builder as well. So you can utilize those reports to create a widget. In regards to inter-site optimization process, there's been an improvement. It now supports DC locations. Data integration wise, there have been a lot of improvements. Order type column added to orders to ship table in QuickBooks Online Connector. Channel substitutions table added to spreadsheet and database connectors. Support for exporting manufacturing orders to SAP Business One has been added. Start import from control added to the transactional spreadsheet connector. Support for importing items without expiration date from the batch expirations table has been added, and sandbox connection added as an option to QuickBooks Online connector. Release also includes UI and UX improvements and bug fixes. That is it for today. Thank you for your time, and please let us know if you have any questions.